Ready for a deep dive into something really cool? Today we're looking at the Kurukh language and its script, Kurukh Banna.
Ooh, I love Kurukh Banna.
It's fascinating because its letters are directly inspired by the art of the Oraon tribal communities.
It's more than just a writing system, it's a symbol of their identity.
Exactly. And I think you'll be surprised by just how deep that connection goes.
Oh yeah, it's really interesting.
The letter forms are actually based on Banna.
Banna.
Yes, Banna. Those are the traditional Oraon motifs you see on everything.
Oh, on their pottery and their walls and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere.
I've seen pictures, it's really beautiful artwork.
It is. So we have this unique language spoken by the Oraon people, mostly as an oral tradition for a long time.
Right.
But then, in the 1990s, this guy named Basudev Ram Kalko decided to create Kurukh Banna.
I've always wondered, why did he do that? What made him come up with the script?
Well, Kurukh, despite its rich oral history, didn't actually have a writing system.
Really?
Yep. And Kalko saw that as a problem.
Makes sense.
He knew that if they wanted to preserve the language and empower the Oraon people, they needed a script that was accessible and reflected their heritage.
Wow, so that's how Kurukh Banna was born.
Pretty cool, right? And the coolest thing is, it's not just some theoretical project.
People are actually using it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's gaining a lot of traction, especially in Odisha, India.
Yep, okay.
There's this traditional Oraon institution there called Kurukh Banna that's been teaching and promoting it.
So they're really making an effort to keep the script alive.
Exactly. And it's spreading to other states with Oraon populations, too.
That's great to hear.
So can we talk about the design of the script? Like, how did those unique letter forms come to be?
I was just thinking about that.
Because they're so different.
Yeah.
Well, Kalko used Banna as his inspiration.
Oh, right, the artwork we were talking about.
Yep. Imagine those intricate designs on Oraon homes, pottery, just their everyday objects.
It's all so detailed.
I know, and those patterns became the basis of the Kurukh Banna script.
He turned their art into their written language. That's so cool.
Isn't it?
Very clever.
He didn't stop there either. He designed over 350 different letter form variations.
350, wow.
That's a lot.
It shows how complex and beautiful the script really is.
And I heard they've been working on computer fonts, too.
That's right. They wanted to bring the script into the digital age.
Makes sense. Everyone uses computers these days.
Exactly. And get this, the font names are taken from Oraon clan titles.
No way. So instead of Times New Roman, you could have like a topo font?
Or a Minx font. It adds a whole other level of meaning to something as simple as choosing a font.
That's awesome. It really shows how important this script is to their culture.
It does.
Right.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, you know? Kurukh Banna faced some challenges along the way.
Oh, what kind of challenges?
Well, one of the biggest ones was actually getting people in the Oraon community to accept it.
Really? I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, not everyone was on board with the idea of a new script at first.
I guess change can be scary. Exactly. Some were worried that it might divide the community or dilute their traditions.
That's understandable.
It is. But you know, Kalko and the people who supported Kurukh Banna, they didn't give up.
They kept pushing for it.
They did. They organized workshops and gave presentations to educate people about the script.
That's great. So it was a real grassroots effort.
It was. They really believed in the importance of having a written form for their language, and they worked hard to convince others.
I bet that wasn't easy.
It wasn't, but they were persistent, and eventually their efforts started to pay off. Kurukh Banna slowly began to take root.
I'm glad to hear that.
But it really wasn't easy. There were a lot of obstacles to overcome.
I can imagine. What were some of the other challenges they faced?
Well,
Besides getting people to accept it, I mean.
oh yeah. Well, one of the biggest hurdles, I think.
Yeah, was getting people to understand just how important it was to have this written form for their language.
Right, because before that, Kurukh was mainly an oral language.
Passed down through generations, like
Uh-huh.
stories, songs.
Yeah, and that can be risky.
Oh, definitely. Especially with all the pressure from dominant languages.
Without a written form, a language can easily disappear.
Exactly. Kurukh Banna really gave Kurukh a new lease on life, you could say.
Do you have any examples of how it's making a difference?
Well, for one, it's being used in education now.
So, Oraon children are learning to read and write in their own language.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
And it's also helping to create new things like books, magazines.
Oh, wow. So there's Kurukh literature now.
Yeah. Even music and films are being made.
That's fantastic. It's like opening up a whole new world for them.
And it's helping to preserve their traditional knowledge, too.
Like what kind of knowledge?
Oh, things like medicine, agriculture, their folklore.
So it's protecting their cultural heritage for future generations.
Exactly. It's like building an archive of their culture.
You mentioned Unicode earlier. Would that be a big deal for Kurukh Banna?
Oh, absolutely. It'd be huge.
No.
But it's a big step.
Can you explain why it's so important for those who might not know about Unicode?
Sure. Basically, Unicode is the standard for how computers display text.
So it makes sure that computers can understand and display any language.
Exactly. That way everyone can communicate and share information.
So without Unicode, using Kurukh Banna on computers would be really hard.
Almost impossible, really.
Right.
It would seriously limit its reach.
And things like online dictionaries or even posting on social media in Kurukh Banna wouldn't really be possible.
Exactly. Unicode is essential for inclusivity online.
So getting Kurukh Banna into Unicode would be a huge win.
It would show that it's recognized globally.
And it would open up so many possibilities for the Oraon people.
Right. It would really help preserve their language for the future.
Okay, going back to those Banna motifs.
Yeah, they're amazing, aren't they?
I'm trying to picture them. What do they look like?
Well, imagine these really intricate geometric designs, animals, plants, sometimes even stars and planets.
Wow, that's beautiful.
I know. And they're everywhere in Oraon culture. Homes, pottery, clothes.
It sounds like a very visually rich tradition.
Oh, it is. And the way Calco incorporated those into the letter forms.
Clever.
Yeah. He really captured the essence of their art.
So it's not just a plain alphabet. It's like each letter is a little piece of art.
Right. And it makes it so unique.
I'm curious, though, was there any pushback from the community when this new script was introduced?
Well, yeah. There were some people who were hesitant at first.
It's natural, I guess.
Yeah. Change can be hard, and some were worried about their traditions.
Right. I can see how that could be a concern.
But Calco and the others, they were very sensitive to those concerns.
So how did they address that?
Well, they had open conversations, and they emphasized that the script wasn't meant to replace anything.
More like adding to it.
Exactly. It was about finding a balance, honoring the old, while embracing the new.
So it was about adapting and evolving.
Right. Language is alive. It needs to change to survive.
And it sounds like they did a great job of navigating those complexities.
They did. They really understood the community's concerns.
So what were some of the key things they did to gain acceptance for Kurukh Banna?
Education was really important. They held workshops and presentations.
To explain why they created the script?
Yeah, and to show how it could benefit the community.
They were really passionate about it.
They were. And they also focused on making it practical.
Like using it in everyday life.
Exactly. They created learning materials, encouraged its use in different settings.
So they weren't just focused on the script itself, but on creating a whole system around it.
That's right. It was a holistic approach.
And it worked. Kurukh Banna started to become a part of their lives.
It really did. It wasn't a novelty anymore. It's something real and useful.
Now, we've talked about the successes, but I'm sure there were challenges too.
Oh, there were definitely some bumps along the way.
What were some of the biggest obstacles?
Well, besides the initial resistance, resources were a big problem.
Ah, that makes sense. Creating a writing system takes a lot of money and expertise.
Exactly. And that wasn't always easy to come by.
So how did they manage?
They did a lot of fundraising, formed partnerships with different organizations.
It sounds like a real community effort.
It was. And it shows how much they believed in this project.
What were some of the things that helped Kurukh Banna gain traction?
Well, publishing educational materials was huge.
That makes sense. People need something to learn from.
Right. And it also helped get schools and institutions involved.
And as more people learned the script, they started using it in different ways.
Yeah, like publications, newsletters, even wedding invitations.
That's so cool. It really became a part of their culture.
It did. And it's still growing today.
This whole story is really inspiring.
It is, isn't it?
It shows how much a community can achieve when they work together.
Absolutely. And it highlights the importance of preserving languages.